This is the Coach Tom Anthony Show on your home for Pitt State football.
To the near edge, and he's buried. Jordan Rogers was not fooled. Drops him back at the 11-yard line.
Highlights, insights, and what's next for Pittsburgh State.
Jalen Fuchs, far side return for Pitt State, has a sideline. Jalen Fuchs is going to go after a block punt for a safety. Pitt State special teams strikes again. Fuchs with a first career touchdown. It comes via kickoff return. It is 22-7. You got to be kidding me.
Here's the voice of the Gorillas, Eddie Lomshek.
Good Monday, football fans, and welcome to the Coach Tom Anthony Show. Eddie Lomshek along with the Pitt State head coach. Another week, another win for the Gorillas, 8 in a row. Kind of a wild one up at Warrensburg, Missouri this past Saturday, doing the show on Monday on our flagship 100.7 and through the KSHQ app. Video installment of the show will be released Wednesdays at noon on the Pitt State Athletics YouTube channel. Coach, 48-35, and that score alone pretty wild. Games have their ebbs and flows, and Central Missouri is unique to an extent in how they play, so you have to be willing to give up some things. But bottom line, how about getting your 8th straight win?
Yeah, it was huge. I mean, we knew it was going to be a tough environment, senior day for them. Really good football team. I mean, obviously, offensively they're dangerous and have the ability to score a lot of points, and knew we were going to have to play some good football in all three phases, and we did that at times. And obviously, when we came in Sunday, watched the film, some stuff we had to clean up and things like that. But, that's a team. They present so many issues for you as a defense with what they do offensively and how they can stress you out. And proud of our guys, the way they stepped up to the challenge.
Yeah, it looks bad in when you look at season high points allowed, first downs allowed, some of that stuff, 500 yards, but still 5 sacks, 4 takeaways. So Coach Broyles used to talk about certain teams you play, you just need to break serve a couple of times, right?
Yeah, and I tell our guys all the time, man, when you play teams like that, UCM and Emporia, teams that are going to go empty and spread you out and try to go as fast as they can. I always tell guys, yards don't win you games, right?
Right.
Points do. And at the end of the day, it's about keeping them out of the end zone, extending drives. I think when you play those tempo teams that spread you out, you have to make them earn their points. And just like Emporia, UCM on Saturday, all their touchdown drives were 7, 8, 9 plays or more. Right. Mm-hmm. So our guys did that. We didn't, for the most part, we kept the ball in front of us and we made them have to earn possessions, drive the football. And if you're able to do that, at that point, you're going to have the ability to hopefully get some takeaways, get some stops, and then hopefully your offense can generate points and move the ball, which our offense did for us, especially there in the second half.
Yeah, and you look at playing 91 plays on defense. You've talked this year about the depth you feel you've developed on the defensive side. You also played this game without Jalen Fuchs from an injury the week before. So talk about that, not just, I know you'd played Emporia, but knowing that there's no way to simulate that in practice, right? Exactly what they do with their tempo.
Yeah, Eddie, I lost a lot of sleep all week knowing we weren't going to have Fuchs for this game. Knowing they were going to come out and throw the ball and, as much as they did in tempo, but super proud of all those corners, and the way they stepped up that game. Obviously, the depth we have in the secondary is a huge asset for us in games like that, and defensive line did a great job as well of generating some pass for us when we needed them to. 58
pass attempts for Central Missouri. I don't know how many other plays were designed passes that broke down, and they take off running. And so it is a war of attrition, these games that flirt with 3.5 hours, that kind of thing. So thankfully, offensively, you did some things, and not just takeaways by your defense, but some points, and we'll get to that stuff. You've talked a lot about the preparation aspect. This team after an 0-2 start. How'd you feel with the practice week leading into Central?
Yeah, I thought we had a great week of practice, man. The guys showed up. And I think as you get to this point in the season, I always talk to our guys, at least for the last couple of weeks, I've been kind of harping to them, no one game is more important than another one, but they do start to get more meaningful, as the season wears on. And our guys know that. Our guys know we're now at the point of the season the last couple of weeks where with how we started at 0-2, every week ended up being a playoff game for us, after that 0-2 start for the most part. And, so our guys, I think, buckled down and mentally that passion for preparation that I talk about all the time, they really bought into that, knowing that, man, there is no room for error. So I think that's helped a lot. I always talk about that adversity kind of gives you a sense of urgency. And I think you've really seen our guys respond to that over the last few months.
You don't just win games on Saturday. Tuesday through Thursday, right? The meat days of your preparation. Talk about this team and despite a winning streak, not being complacent and not skipping anything on the practice field.
Definitely. I think again, I think it all kind of goes back, I think, to that 0-2 start. And just, man, when your back is up against the wall and you know that there's zero room for error, just that sense of urgency and how that propels you forward, just for coaches and for players, right? There's no room for error, and you have to be perfect in everything you do. You can't have an off day. There is no, man, I wish I would have done better today. Like, that's just not an option anymore, right? When you start 0-2, that's got to be your mentality. And, man, I think our guys have really bought into that and really responded to that.
The weather at Warrensburg was going to change throughout the day, and we get there and you come out for pregame warm-ups an hour before kickoff, and it's spitting rain, it's cloudy, then eventually the sun comes out, but that wind kicks up because we had this drop in temperature over the weekend, and it started up there to the north of us before it hit here. So talk about going into there where you're going to be dealing with a game. The elements are going to change throughout.
Definitely. I think a huge asset for us was just kind of the elements we faced the previous couple weeks. When you look at that game we played up at Mo West, you had the spitting rain, you had the weather delay, you had some heavy winds, it was cold. Then we come back home against Missouri Southern on Senior Day, huge gusts of winds in that game. There were some 20 to 30 mile an hour wind gusts that game. So I think that kind of helped, the previous couple weeks having to play in some of those elements. Our guys were kind of used to that a little bit. So I think that definitely helps when you have, when you've had some snaps and you've played some games in some of those types of elements. It just kind of makes your guys a little more comfortable, I guess, when you have those situations present themselves.
Welcome to the Midwest in November, right? If you don't like the weather, wait a minute, it can change. As we sit here and put this show together Monday morning, it's in the 20s outside, and so
it's going to be 75 on Saturday.
On Friday, Saturday, whatever. The global warming thing is out the window. It's we've ridden the roller coaster in the last how many hours or days with the weather, and this was the ultimate roller coaster ride. You have a scoreless first quarter, 14-all at halftime, wild third quarter with takeaways and defensive scores, and then here comes Central again. So we talk about almost a 3.5-hour game. Talk about the mental toughness in handling those kinds of almost extreme swings in momentum.
Definitely. And, I think a lot of it, we've been in a lot of those games this year. I always go back to that kind of Fort Hays game as well, when we scored 21 points in the fourth quarter and had to come back. And there's been a couple games this year where we've kind of had our backs against the wall. You go back early in the season to Grand Valley, when they take the lead on us late in the game, then we got to battle back. So I think the good part about our football team is we've been in a lot of those situations with a lot of that roller coaster in terms of just the momentum and the scoring changes. So again, when you have experience in those situations, it's advantageous for your team when those situations present themselves again. A week or 2 or 3 down the road, your guys know how to handle them.
And then also this game, you get this late in the season. We had a late bye week after playing 8 games, but you get dinged up. Talked about playing without Fuchsa, played without Karan Parchman, and everybody gets beat up in the game of football. You have to be unbelievably fortunate for that not to rear its head. So we'll talk about some of the individuals that did step up in this game and some of the plays they made, but also just talk about late season. As much as you're dinged up, how much of that is mental toughness, handling the bumps and bruises?
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, that's what I love about the game of football, man, is you got to be tough to play this thing. Like, you're going to have to play through bumps and bruises and nicks, and you're going to be sore, right? We're into week 11 now. Everybody in America's sore, right? We're sore. Northwest is sore. UCM's sore. You got to fight through some of that, and you got to toughen some of that out. But at the same time, as coaches, we got to realize how we have to adjust things too, right? Practice starts to look a little bit different when you get later in the season. You're probably not banging quite as much. Maybe you're shortening practice a little bit. Your tempos might change a little. You're still out there getting the work in you need to get in. But as coaches, that's part of our responsibility too, is to be able to see when some of that's starting to show up, because you got to get to Saturday and put your guys in a position to have some success, and part of that is how you prepare, Sunday through Friday as well.
And also with that, you talk about practice changing, and that's nothing new. You do back off a little bit physically, but talk about the work during the week that training staff, Cody and the strength conditioning staff, those guys do to make sure your players understand what they need to do to give their bodies the best chance.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I think we have one of the best, training, medical, strength staffs in the country, I think, at our level. And Coach Williams and Coach Holly do a great job. I mean, we get reports every day, on those. I mean, these guys, I can't imagine 25 years. I mean, these guys have GPS trackers on them. So, they come off the practice field. Cody sends us a report, tells us how far each guy traveled, what their top speed was, who we got to monitor the next day based on the workload they had. So all that stuff has totally changed college football and changed athletics, just in terms of helping us prepare guys. And then all the new recovery stuff we have that we didn't have 15, 20 years ago, all the therapy stuff we have, the resources we have here at Pitt State. I mean, when I first got here, there was like one full-time trainer, right? And now we have like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
We have a physical therapy, site right on campus now. Our strength staff has continued to grow for all of athletics, which all that stuff does. It's just advantageous for the student athlete and just helps with the recovery and helping them get primed up, to compete whenever they compete, whether it's on a Tuesday night basketball game or Friday volley, whatever it is. I mean, there's so many resources now to help these guys, thrive, when they're competing.
I think Woody Hayes or Bear Bryant wouldn't turn over in their grave if they could see some of this stuff
I don't
today.
think they ever could have imagined a GPS tracker, on your guys while they're out there playing.
Yeah, that is it is phenomenal, the technology and how it's changed things a little bit. But the Gorillas get through at 48-35 at Central Missouri. Take our first break. When we come back, long snapper Austin O'Hara will join us in our player segment. More of the Coach Tom Anthony Show right after this.
The Silverback Fund just helps us go above and beyond to be able to be the best in the MIAA.
You see it as a financial investment, but it's really an investment in people, which is what Pitt State's all about.
We recruit at such a high level. We are competing against a lot of Division I's now. What's going to set us apart and have us in the conversation is the financial part of it.
We couldn't have this success without individual donors, without the community support.
If you're on the fence about giving, come out to games, look at the athletes and see what kind of experiences they're getting.
Welcome back to the Coach Tom Anthony Show. Eddie Lomshek on our player segment of the show this week, joined by long snapper Austin O'Hara, and you can lump these guys in there with the offensive linemen. You only hear their name when things go wrong, and we don't ever want that. But this guy's a great story for Pittsburgh State. Long snapping is one of those deals you really do labor in a sea of anonymity. The one tackle you're in the stat books for this year, so a lot of good stuff. But let's talk about the team first. You guys coming off the win at Central Missouri, obviously 8 straight since the 0-2 start. Where do you feel this team is as you get ready to wrap it up?
I love where we're at. I've loved seeing how we've grown throughout the year, especially after the 2 losses there in the beginning of the season. But I'm glad to see how we're finally really seeming to put all the pieces together, and it's an exciting time.
I know Coach Anthony's been quick to talk about it has to be player-led when you start 0-2. Yeah. You don't want to let it slip away. You still had a lot of goals in front of you other than an undefeated season, but still a shot at a conference. Obviously, the playoff situation. Where would you start? What were things like around the team, whether it be in the locker room or on a practice field after 0-2?
Yeah, I was really proud of how our leaders really stepped up and how really – kind of like where I was kind of trying to find where I was supposed to be in that situation too. Just even guys that aren't captains who stepped up and decided that we're going to make our culture known and we're going to keep our culture the way that it should be. Because obviously starting 0-2, that's not our culture. So having the opportunity to kind of look yourself in the mirror and be able to, look at the man in the mirror and say that we're doing everything we can. We had to take a step back and really assess that and get things fixed up.
Coach has talked often about this team having to adopt a passion for preparation. Talk about maybe especially Tuesday through Thursday, work days during the week. How would you describe this group as a practice team?
Yeah, we have every single detail that we have to try to get perfect. And I believe that our team does such a good job with that. Just being able to go in and day out with such a great intent. And that starts at the top with your leaders, whether it's trying to get little things done after practice when you have to do things individually, or whether that's just doing your 1/11th when you're on the field.
Austin O'Hara with us, player guest on the Coach Tom Anthony Show. The Gorillas 8-2 off a win at Central Missouri and headed for a big one, obviously, with Northwest in Kansas City this coming weekend with a lot of conference and playoff ramifications. You're from St. Paul, Kansas, hometown of my wife. I always have to get that in any chance I can, and so I know families go way back in that regard. Out of high school, you go to Independence Community College. You played 8-man football, and so what was that like, just having the opportunity to go to the next level regardless of where it was?
Yeah, it was a culture shock.
Yeah, I'll bet.
I mean, playing 8-man and then going into a situation where there's 3 more guys on the field, you're kind of out of sorts a little bit. And then, of course, just like everybody says, you're kind of your top dog at your high school, which, I mean, top dog at St. Paul, but I don't know if I'd say top dog, but big culture shock. But I've loved getting to be able to be part of the college scene because, looking back, I really had no idea that I would play college football because it really wasn't until after my senior season that we lost that last game, and I decided, I was like, you know what, I'm not done. Yeah. And it had been said to me a couple weeks before that have you ever thought of long snapping? I was like, well, never really thought of it like that. But
so you hadn't done that a lot in high school. You might punt a little. I don't see, I've seen plenty of 8-man. I don't see many teams kick it. But
right.
How much long snapping did you have in games through high school?
So I wouldn't say any, I was our long snapper.
Yeah.
But it wasn't any, real long snapping you could say, because in 8-man, it's only 11 yards back there.
Yeah.
And then coming up to the collegiate level or 11-man level, it's 14. So really, I didn't have any in-game reps until I got to college.
Okay. Yeah, and then you go to Independence, and obviously close to home, and Pittsburgh State is as well. With that, all your college years, what's it been like getting to play and close to home where friends and family are around?
It's living a dream. It really is, because kind of like I said, a good story. When I was trying to get into long snapping, my original intent was, okay, I got to get to Pitt State. That was my big dream. I wanted to go to Pitt State. But my head coach, Coach Watrick, he said, if you're going to play in college, then you're going to have to try to get somewhere. You're gonna have to be willing to play somewhere other than Pittsburgh State. And so I went to a few camps, Punt 21.
Okay.
And with there, I got some good exposure and Independence at the second camp I went to. They finally picked me up, and then I was always trying to hit up Pittsburgh State. Still, I was like, okay, I'm still going to try to chase that dream. And I'll never forget, it was during that winter break between the end of our season at Independence and the start of that next semester. I'd finally got the text of one of the coaches here that was finally reaching back to me, and I about fell out of my chair when that happened, because as a small town kid, I never really thought that I would be able to do something like that, and now look at me.
So your year at Indy, were you the primary long snapper that year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there wasn't anybody else that wanted to do it. So yeah, I got to get all the reps and try to make the most out of all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's again Austin O'Hara, Pitt State long snapper, with us on our player segment of the Coach Tom Anthony Show. So with that, you obviously had a lot of work to do coming out of high school. You talk about adjustment to depth, and then you get short snapping for field goal extra point. Where would you start in when you first came to Pitt State and you had a redshirt year? Talk about the work you had to put in to just across the board improvements.
Yeah, I first think of all the guys that came before me. Especially, I had such a good example with Timmy Malinowski, who was ahead of me. And sitting behind him for a year, it really helped me understand of more of what the game looks like for a long snapper. Because like I said, I really hadn't been in that position very much, but he really walked with me a lot and being able to show me technique, and he was very willing to work with me on anything. So that was such a great opportunity.
So give people an idea. You have special teams periods at practice where you're on the field and you're trying to do live rep stuff. I know you time and film everything a lot. What about when offense and defense are out there? You specialists are over on the side, right? How much do? You don't want to do it to muscle failure to an extent, but give people an idea of the reps you take standard practice day.
Yeah, I think some of the most important reps that we take are reps without the ball in our hand. So whether that be just kind of slow motion stuff of being able to have great intent with maybe where I finish my hands or something like that. I think that alignment is such a big thing, being able to stay square in my stance and being able to just finish with a good product. So a lot of that comes from doing things without the ball in my hand.
So Kendall Gammon, Pitt State guy, snapped in the NFL 15 years. Have you had much interaction with him?
Not a lot, you know. I actually have in high school. I read his book, Life
Okay.
is a Snap, and that was a great way to kind of put a little fire under me too.
Okay.
Of like, okay, like this is possible, you know. But I really haven't talked to him very much.
And so I know I've talked to him over the years, of course, known him a long time, and he would talk about he knew how to position that ball so when the holder receives it, the laces are never facing the kicker. How much have you experimented with where you position the ball before you snap it?
Yeah, that was actually something that I got to work on with Timmy when
Okay.
he was still here. Actually, and it's funny because the umpire, I always spin it and ask him if I can spin it, and they're always so surprised because I actually don't use the lace when I spin it on a field goal. I actually have it to where the laces are facing out so that I know that I think I have about a 2 3/4 spin.
Okay.
So that it can get to Tyler with perfect laces every time.
Yeah, repetition and a lot of experimentation, right? So we're hoping for a good playoff run. I don't know, being from St. Paul, you into duck hunting over there at the refuge?
A little bit, yeah.
Interrupt duck season, but it'd be worth it, right?
Yeah, totally.
Hey, thanks for being here. Great job.
Appreciate you.
Great job. Austin O'Hara with us on our player segment of the Coach Tom Anthony Show. We'll take a break. Coach will rejoin us on the other side. Welcome back to the Coach Tom Anthony Show. Eddie Lomshek with Coach Reed joining us here on the other side of our player segment. Coach Austin O'Hara, great story. Anybody that played 8-man football and gets a chance to play in the MIAA, really high level of Division II football. Austin talked there, an eye-opener, right, about what a big world it is out there. I don't care what level of college you go to, it's an adjustment. Never mind from 8-man where he didn't do a lot of what he does in college. You get to independence and, man, some of the dogs in JUCO you're around and play with, and then you come to a program like Pitt State in the MIAA. So where would you start in just how good of a story Austin is?
Yeah, I would start first with just how good of a story he is as a person.
Oh, yeah.
He is a top-notch human being, just the way he goes about his business every day. He's an incredible man of faith and lives his life that way, and is a huge, huge asset for us in that regard within our program. And then just, he's so detailed in everything he does, academically, socially, on the football field, with his faith. And there's not one even minutely kind of bad thing I could say about Austin O'Hara. He is, as a dad with a daughter, like that's kind of the motto, man. I would love my daughter to date a kid like that, and it couldn't be truer, man. Like he is a top-notch human being, and you just hope that your own children someday can end up being like him.
Yeah, he's very involved in a lot. My wife works at the Catholic Student Center on campus. Austin's very involved there, and they are both from St. Paul. So good endorsement for St. Paul America. Long snapping, I mentioned with him, you only really talk about those guys if it goes bad, because those can be game-turning plays. So talk about the importance of reliability.
Yeah, he's been incredible. Like he talked about, he backed up Timmy, for a year, and then we bring in Lane Wood last year as a true freshman, and he backs up Lane Wood, and he went through spring ball. And we were kind of going to go through spring ball and see how he did, and he did phenomenal. It was like, man, this he's going to be our guy this fall. And then wasn't sure if he was going to come back for another year, because he graduates, and he told me about a week before senior day, Coach, I want to come back one more year, and told him at that point, spoilers maybe for his parents if he hasn't told him, but we're going to put him on some scholarship money. He's earned that. Becoming our long snapper this year, and then obviously going into next year as well. And just it's so fun to see kids like that who come in as walk-ons and just battle. Don't ever say a word. He's never asked for a thing. All he's asked for is an opportunity. And when that opportunity came, he took it and he's run with it for sure.
And the thing you mentioned, Timmy Malinowski and Lane, and they both kind of left the program on short notice, right? And just maybe decided it wasn't for them anymore, and that's part of it. So he wasn't necessarily number one on the depth chart at any point, but talk about him seizing the opportunity that came about.
Yeah, he's just, again, it's kind of that guy. He just came to work every day, worked on his craft. You could tell when you talk to him just how detailed he is, right?
Yeah.
And just all the little ins and outs of long snapping, which I know nothing about, So seeing him every day just come and go to work, and just the detail and the effort that he puts into that has also earned a ton of respect from our team as well. Obviously we have 7 captains this year, and the way I kind of do captains is anyone that wants to be a captain in spring ball has to give me like a letter, right? It's essentially your resume. Why do you want to be a captain? Well, then I just put all those names up on a board, and the players vote on who the captains are going to be. And Austin was one of those guys that probably 8th, 9th, 10th probably in terms of getting the most votes to be a captain. So he's a guy that's earned a lot of respect from his teammates as well, just about how he shows up every day and works.
Yeah, and again, that special teams, I know as much as you guys spend on it, you time everything, you video everything, and those are just momentum plays if they go bad. And Pitt State's been on both ends of that a little bit this year, but thankfully more good than bad. Special teams as a whole, as we get into Central Missouri game here, another good day kicking it for Austin. Field position with your kickoffs, kick coverage unit. Do you feel like you've progressed to a pretty steady point with hidden yardage and those kind of things?
Yeah, I think we're doing a great job. I mean, obviously, we missed a few field goals early in the year, but I think Austin is, Austin Schmidt's doing a great job kicking the football right now. Hayden Kosicki's killing it on kickoff, doing a great job. Our coverage units have been really good with kickoff and punt. Tyler Angel's been punting the ball really well. Pinned him, had one. We only punted twice Saturday, but had one. He pinned him deep there. So overall, I think Coach Hollins and Coach Schrader are doing a phenomenal job with our special teams right now.
Yeah, there were a couple drives. Central, you look at their own 20, their own 21, their own 9. Most of them were at their own 25. They fair catch every punt, but have one you mentioned in the first half, pin them at the 4-yard line. So special teams matter and yards matter, and that's a big part of it. You guys get the ball first in this game, and we hear about complementary football. It's not just about score, get a stop, score. It can be about your offense. You get one first down, you had to punt, but how about your defense? I don't know if I would say setting a tone, but you forced Central 3 and out their first series.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge, especially against an offense like that who has the ability to generate yards and points so fast. To be able to, anytime that you it can get a stop to start the game is huge, whether it's a 3 and out, whether you just get them to punt, whether it's a takeaway. If you can kind of set that tone early and get the confidence going for your defense, that's always going to be good for you.
Because it was huge complementary football in that your second series, you have a 10-play possession, but a fumble sack, fumble, whatever you want to call it. And so Central's got the ball set up at their own 45, and they got into your side of the field, and then I think they had a penalty, and you might have had a sack in there as well. So when a team starts that close to midfield, talk about your defense forcing them off the field with a punt.
Yeah, I think our defense, as I kind of look back over the last month and a half, has done a great job of when they are put in those tough situations, maybe after a takeaway, maybe after some bad field position, whatever it is, to be able to come out and just kind of stop the bleeding a little bit, right, and get the momentum back in our favor. And again, they were able to step up huge on that fumble sack for us right there, and I believe we made them punt on that possession. So great job by the defense coming out, and that's the great part about I think our defense right now is they don't blink. When they're put in those situations, they love that they're put in those situations, and they love stepping up.
Well, the first 6 possessions of this game either ended in a punt or the one takeaway by Central, the giveaway by the Gorillas. And so scoreless first quarter, you get into these games, you never know how it's going to develop because it would obviously get pretty wild. But just in terms of trying to get a feel for a game, talk about that versus you still know it can change in a hurry.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was going to change. I did not. I would have bet a lot of money that that wouldn't have been 0-0 after the first quarter. So, I was pleased to see our defense, playing the way they were, and obviously, offensively, I think, it was kind of a new look and a new scheme that they hadn't seen, in a couple weeks. So, getting able to get to the sideline and adjust a few things and get some communication things down, I think was good for them. And then they were able to, really help us. I mean, we needed them to help us. I knew we were going to have to score some points to beat that team, and our offense was able to do that for us.
Because the first swing in momentum came after that punt by Austin, just 31 yards. Penn Central at their own 4, late first quarter. They get one first down, and they punted away. You have a nice return, but you have a hold on the return. First half, I think you had 6 of your 7 penalties were in the first half. But you and I were talking here off air a little bit about, as a coach, what part of you has to reserve judgment a little bit until you see the video and know whether it's kind of a 50-50 or ticky-tack call?
Yeah, I mean, some of that stuff to me, like you got to help differentiate with your guys, man. There's like effort penalties and then there's stupid penalties, right? And, some of those penalties we had, I mean, they were effort penalties, right? And, stuff we'll watch film, we'll try to get it corrected. And, Jacoby got called on a holding on that big punt return. And, I mean, it wasn't egregious. Jacoby's playing hard, and he's just got to learn to kind of drop that outside hand now and just kind of start to get in phase a little bit better. So as I look back at the penalties, we had a couple, but stuff we can easily clean up on film, and they're not things that were egregious and out of line. I mean, they're just try hard, play hard type penalties.
Well, you're in a scoreless tie, late first quarter. You get the ball at midfield. There was a personal foul in Central Missouri, aided in your field position. But when you start at midfield, you eventually score. How important is that to cash in?
Huge. I mean, when you start with that field position, at that point in the game, we needed to put some points on the board, and offense did a great job of driving down there and putting the ball in the end zone. Yeah,
and the first touchdown, really well designed because you flip two tight ends. And then underneath Nigeman on the formation, obviously he comes underneath the formation. How about the design and execution there?
Yeah, great job by KB, and that offensive staff of seeing something they thought they could take advantage of, and then great job by those guys executing. And then Luke gets his first ever career touchdown catch, so that's pretty cool. To keep stacking the Luke Nigeman stats here, and the aura that is Luke here as this thing continues to go forward.
Yeah, it is his first career receiving touchdown. He has 10 career rushing touchdowns. I don't think took a snap in this game as far as the heavy set, but good to see him with that. And tight ends, receiving yards continue to come for them a little bit. But in terms of that, the versatility of tight ends, when you stack one behind the other, it's obviously a run formation. So I won't call it a true tendency breaker, but talk about the versatility of multiple tight ends on the field.
Yeah, it's huge. And, I think one thing as a defensive coach that the more tight ends you put on the field, where it stresses you out is it creates more gaps you have to defend in the run game. So you have to commit more hats into the box to defend those gaps, and then that makes you more susceptible on defense to maybe some play action pass type stuff. But when you really got to screw down in there to defend more gaps that the offense creates, it does put stress on you as a defense. So again, that's where I think multiple tight ends are very versatile and can stress a defense out a lot.
So the Gorillas go up 7-0, 14-25 of the first half. Mules come right back in kind of a vintage drive, right with their offense. 13 plays, 75 yards. Made them take almost 6 minutes. Again, you don't want to give up points, but you sure don't want to give it up fast to a team like that. Your team comes right back from your own 25. There was a DPI on Central that aids the drive. Once you get it down there, you took a shot, made a note here, and we heard it on post-game, the catch. How about the concentration and getting a foot down there by Jalen Travis on your sideline?
Yeah, Jay Trav's been incredible. He's a guy I think that's really come on for us here in the last month and a half. And again, just a transfer we brought in, just continued to learn the offense. He's a guy that shows up every day to work. Man, you don't have to ask him to come work hard. He doesn't really say much either, which is very rare for a wide receiver. He's very quiet. He's very reserved. And he's a big body, runs great routes, and has incredible hands. So it's been fun to kind of see Jay Trav find his way in our offense here over the last 6 weeks.
Are there receivers, some of them you feel that, I don't know if you saw the touchdown where Indiana scored late in the back of the end zone, and the kid, talk about receivers and some that may have a little more knack than others as far as knowing really where they are on the field and the ability to get that 1 foot down.
Yeah, I mean, that's something you can't teach.
Right.
Some of that stuff just comes natural to some guys. And then obviously, that comes natural to him. And then on top of it, he is a bigger body, to have some of that length where he can go up and attack a ball in the air. That's advantageous too, and makes that even more stressful for a defense to have to defend something like that.
Well, the Mules come back again, and the Gorillas would score on a run. I do want to talk about that run by ZPG Zamari because 15 yards and he kind of stumbles. I don't know that he put his foot on or hand on the ground. You hear about the stumble drill, right, that running backs do in practice. Talk about Zamari, though, kind of low center of gravity and just a little stumble like that. Is that just another thing he has in his arsenal?
Yeah, his balance and vision is incredible. Obviously being a little smaller, a little shorter, lower to the ground, it's a little easier for those guys to do that. But again, I think Zamari, we talk about him every week, just how he gets more and more comfortable each week within our offense. And just his ability to find holes to make guys miss. And then obviously the balance that comes with him is huge as well.
Big day for him, 140 yards on 18 carries. He had the long one there in the second half, but just continues to impress for again, as late as he came over the summer. Central comes back, 10-play, 75-yard touchdown drive. There was a pass interference, I think, on the Gorillas. Maybe in that one, was that the one in the end zone that kept their drive alive?
Yeah, that was the 3rd and goal in the end zone. I mean, again, that's another tough one. I mean, J. Raj, is man-to-man there on about a 270-pound. That guy could have played offensive tackle.
Yeah.
A 275-pound tight end, and they're just leaning on each other. And man, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those ones. I think it could go either way. And the guy threw the flag there on the back end, but he was just battling, playing hard, and ended up getting called on one right there.
And the one thing about it though, you guys come back and get a kick return out to your 32-yard line. Or maybe that was a fair catch, I don't remember, but regardless, you have decent field position, 1:50 until half and all 3 timeouts. You had to feel pretty good about the opportunity to put more points up.
Yeah, I think one thing that's been really cool to see over the last, 3 or 4 games is we've been in a lot of those 2-minute type situations.
Yeah.
Kind of right before halftime. I go back to Mo West, right, when we drove down. Austin kicks the long field goal. We had another one against Missouri Southern where we drove down. So that's been really cool, I think, to see our offense be able to operate at a high level in those 2-minute situations, and had another chance, right before halftime. And, head coach decided to make kind of a crazy call right there. And I was hoping Tyler Anchel would lower his shoulder and just kind of plow through a few guys there, but they did a great job defending it, and we ended up getting tackled on about the half-yard line.
I will say this, you do have to credit Central Missouri because their edge defender did a great job not to lose leverage. He could come hard off the edge and go for the block. You make those calls as a special teams coach, what you're going to do, but you guys have faked a couple, so they see that, and it did force them into that, and to their credit, they made the play. But I had your back a little bit on the air because I think if you kick it, it'd be nice, but the game probably was not going to end 17-14. Was that part of it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was the only reason we did. I mean, I did decide to make that call there. I knew we needed touchdowns. I knew we were going to need a lot of them, to win that football game, and I felt like that was a good opportunity with what we'd seen on film with their heavy edge pressure to try to steal one right there. And obviously being so close down to the end zone, probably wouldn't have called that thing out on the 15, 20-yard line, but being so close down in there, knew we just needed a handful of yards to try and punch it into the end zone, and figured it was a good time for us to try to make that call, and kudos to them for stopping it.
14-all at halftime, and I'm going to tell you this, next time Central Missouri plays in Pittsburgh, we need to make them locker in the Plaster Center, right? Because it is a country mile out a gate, around the stadium, across the street, behind their gymnasium. It's literally 4 city blocks at least.
Yeah, we clocked it. We clocked it when we got there, and I'd remembered that from when we played here in 2021. Yeah. I mean, right when we got to the stadium, we clocked it, and it was, I think on the walk, it was 4 minutes, 45 seconds. So, yeah, it's a solid 5-minute walk just to get. Now, the good thing is the refs even told me before the game, hey, we're not going to start the halftime clock till I see you guys clear the scoreboard. So that saved about a minute and a half there for us as well. And then obviously the extended halftime, they had something going on at halftime, so it was a 25-minute halftime versus the normal 20. So that helped as well, just allowing us to get into the locker room and have some time to talk through some things.
Well, no surprise, it was a battle. No two ways about that. 14-all at halftime, and that wasn't even the start of things. It really would get wild in the second half. We'll take our next break, come back, we'll go through the second half with Coach, and eventually look forward to Saturday, Northwestern Pitt from Kansas City. We'll do all of that right after this.
Pittsburgh State University Alumni and Constituent Relations, engaging Gorilla alumni and friends through Gorilla gatherings, family events, programming, and a variety of benefits and services. Ride with Gorilla Pride in Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. Personalization available in Kansas and Missouri. Honoring our Gorilla greats and their achievements with alumni awards. Find an alumni event near you or learn more about us at pittstate.edu/alumni.
Welcome back to Coach Tom Anthony Show. Eddie Lomshek and the coach going through a 48-35 win at Central Missouri. 8 straight for the Gorillas after that 0-2 start, and sets up a big one in Kansas City on Saturday. We'll get to that in just a little bit. Coach, 14-all at halftime. The Mules obviously get the football because you lost the coin toss again, but that's all right. Yeah. I'll trade the end result for a coin toss any day, right? So Central has the football, 3rd play of the half. You talked to Sam Reeves, our sideline reporter, about, well, we may need to tighten up a little bit our coverage, and I don't know if that was a result of that, but how about J. Raj jumping that slant?
Huge. I mean, he's probably our best defensive player, one of the best players in the country, and you need those guys to step up in games like this, and he did, man. What a play for us to start the half there with a pick 6, and just great job by him. It was a great read. We did tighten up our coverage there in the second half. That was part of our kind of halftime adjustment. They came out and probably went way more empty than we thought we were going to get.
Yeah.
They ran some empty on film, but man, they came out and they were just living in empty sets. And so we made some adjustments at halftime and changed a few things. And it really, I think, was advantageous for us, there in the second half.
Well, and I think that they're 2 scoring drives in the second quarter out of 5 wide empty. And they'll do stuff where they send 4 guys down. One guy will just stand there, right? And if you go with them, they're just going to throw it out the side and he'll run for 8 yards. Yeah. What do you do, right? So eventually, it becomes a numbers game. Jordan Rogers has been playing with a little bit of a foot injury, and he probably doesn't come any tougher than Jordan Wright as far as physical toughness. Where do you start with him in just pound for pound? If he was bigger, I mean, he may not be here, right?
Yeah, but he wouldn't be here if he was about 2 or 3 inches taller and 10 or 15 pounds heavier. He'd probably be playing in the SEC.
And if you just talk about pound for pound and just his clear passion for the game of football.
Incredible. And it's not just his passion, it's his football IQ. I always go back to recruiting him out of high school. I mean, that kid was the Texas State 4A defensive player of the year as a junior, and then he was the Texas 4A offensive player of the year as a senior. And he's just a football player.
Oh yeah.
And he's the type of guy that can sit in a meeting, not take a note, and tell you what all 11 guys do on defense on every call. I mean, that's just how smart and how high his football IQ is. And when you have guys like that, like a Brandon Malikas, Zeke Wall, guys that we've coached here that have that football IQ, man, you don't have to overcoach those guys. Tell them what to do, tell them where to go, and they're going to do it at a pretty high level. And he's one of those guys.
Yeah, and it's awesome to see that just the never-ending physical effort that's out there. I mean, he never takes a play off, right? And there are guys in the league that are going to finish this season with 100 tackles, 110 tackles, and he may not have that. I'm not sure I'd trade him for another defense player in the conference now.
I wouldn't trade him, man. And he's been incredible for us, not just this year, but I mean, you talk about the last couple of years. He led the league in picks in 2023, first team all-conference last year in 24. And probably his stats would probably be a lot better had he not been limited the last 2 to 3 weeks. We've been kind of monitoring his reps a little bit, with that injury. Quentin Kirby's been playing a lot more snaps for us at that nickel position. So to see him kind of start to get back into form here on the tail end of the season is, I'm happy for him, but I'm also happy for the Gorillas too.
Swiss Army knife indeed, kick returner as well, and he's a guy who can do so many things. And so Jordan Rogers' value is it's just incredible what he means to us. So Central comes right back, scores. So 21 all, and it's on then, right? But you guys would rip off 24 straight, and we get caught breaking first station ID, and you guys snapped it a little before I thought you would. And ZPG goes around left end 67, but how about the blocking on that play? Because just untouched getting to the edge and then the speed, right?
Yeah, great job by the offensive line, tight ends, and a couple great blocks out on the perimeter by the wideouts as well. So anytime you get a long run like that, a 15 to 20 yarder and longer, you're probably going to have some pretty good blocking up front. And I just continue to credit every week our offensive line and our tight ends, and just the physicality and the way that they block. That's why we're able to run the football, right? Our running backs are really, really good, but man, really good running backs, you usually have a really good offensive line and tight ends and even wideouts that are blocking for them out on the perimeter.
Well, the run game's been outstanding, and the balance this team continues. They went into Saturday within 10 yards maybe of exactly a 50-50 run-pass balance. And when you can do both, it makes you that much more difficult. You can't have a run of 24 unanswered without complementary football. So after a one-play score, I guess you don't want your defense right back out there, but if they are going to be, at least you're adding points, right? So talk about your defense after a one-play score for you. They're right back out there, and they force Central to punt.
Yeah, I mean, great job by the defense. That goes back, I mean, you say it all the time, the complementary, but I think part of that compliment is also just the momentum and the confidence it gives, all three phases. When the offense is doing well, man, it gives defense and special teams confidence. When defense is doing well, it gives offense and special teams. Big special teams play, it gives the offense and defense confidence. So I think that's a big part of it too, man. When you can do really well in one phase, it kind of gives those other two phases a lot of confidence to play at a high level.
Gorillas go up 28-21 on the long run by Zamari, the punt at their own 29, and Kevin Blau calls a play like he's a shark in the water smelling blood, right? So one play over the top, Barry to Atkins, 71 yards. and just he was able to get behind coverage, but you still have to put that ball in a certain spot. So how about the execution on the deep ball there?
Yeah, great job by JB, great protection up front, and man, we talk about guys that needed to step up on Saturday. With Karan out, man, TJ Atkins was that guy, and stepped up in a bigger way than I ever could have imagined. Just catching the football, blocking, had a huge kick return for us as well in the special teams game.
Yep.
So TJ is one of those guys that got here this summer. Again, just kind of finding his way, in our offense the last few months, and lo and behold, man, like your time comes. Karan's out this week, and TJ steps into that role and had an incredible game for us, and we needed him to.
4 catches, 142, and a touchdown. Pretty good day. I will say this, that, after I read my open, we have some recorded segments in our pregame, and it allows Mike Smith and myself to go down on the field and maybe talk to a coach. And I always try and find the opposing coach, thank them for their time during the week. We talk to them on the phone. But Smitty talked to Karan, and he said, hey, you're not playing, who's going to step up? And Karan was quick to point to number 3. He said, that guy right there is going to have a day.
Yeah, well, they're both from St. Louis,
yeah,
so those St. Louis guys are. I mean, they're pretty tight. But man, TJ's an incredible kid. I mean, he's a kid. I always go back. This is what makes TJ so special, man. I go back to the Emporia game, and when we were running the football at a really, really high level, and TJ is just on the sideline, going crazy, yelling at the offense in a good way, yelling at the offensive coaches, keep running the ball, keep running. Like, that's just him. Like, that dude just wants to win. And whatever he can contribute to this team to help us do that, and that's what really kind of makes him such a special person, is just he just wants to win. And whatever he needs to do to help us do that, he's willing to do it. And super proud and happy for him that he got to have a day like this. Yeah. And we're going to continue to need him, to stay in that role and keep stepping up.
Yeah, and the ties there with Stephen F. Austin, right? Kevin and Bill Blyle on the Pitt State staff. They have a brother that coached at Stephen F. Austin, or still does. They both came from there. So he's a St. Louis kid by way of Southern Illinois and Stephen F. Austin. So great to see him have that day indeed. And then, boy, you get a, Central threatening. It's 28-14, but here come the Mules. And, man, what a play by Christian Cross. It looked like he was almost too late turning his head. I don't know how he caught the ball to throw a hand at it and maybe knock it away. But where do you start in the interception by him?
Yeah, Christo's been great for us. I mean, all-conference kid last year, one of our best corners that we have. Well, I truly do think he's one of the better corners in the league, and made an incredible play. I mean, he was in phase, turned, located the ball in the air, and made an incredible just one hand. I don't know if they were trying to back shoulder the throw a little bit because they were down there in the red zone, but made an incredible pick. And to be able to come, as they're driving, man, that's what you talk about. Make them drive. And then when you got a chance, man, that's the time to take that ball away, and he stepped up huge right there.
Well, he did, and Pitt State would get points out of it eventually, starting from their own 20, a 9-play possession. And it was a good one because it took 4.5 minutes off the clock. You get points out of it. It did make it a 3-score game, 38-21. Here's Austin Schmidt from the right hash again. He's thankfully put those demons behind him. But in all seriousness, that was a pretty significant crosswind. That's a north-south field. That wind was out of the west. There's a gap there in their stadium between that and the building they have at the north end. So you worry about that ball from the right hash just not curling in. But, man, how about that kick by Austin? He nailed it.
Yeah, he's been incredible. And I think it goes back to, I mean, we talked about the elements earlier. I mean, Austin having to kick in some heavy winds the last few weeks. Yeah. I mean, that's advantageous for him because now he's used to doing it. Heavy winds at Mo West, heavy winds for our home game against Missouri Southern. So him being able to kick some balls in games where there's pretty heavy winds, whether it's in his face, behind him, coming from the side, the more work he can get in that is going to help him be more successful.
Well, they're all big, and that made it, again, a 3-score game, and Central would be pinned at their own 9. I think they had a little miscommunication on the kick return, and one guy knocked down another. So that's great to see them starting at their own 9 to start the fourth quarter down 17. And lo and behold, third play, their quarterback runs it. He gets whacked, and Eli Wilcox, Johnny on the spot. But I think it was Ward that hit him and knocked that ball. How about that play?
Steve-O stroked him, man, and popped the ball out. It was an incredible ball attempt by him to get that ball out. And, we always talk about defensively, man, 11 hats to the football every time. And, Eli was tracking the football from the backside. I mean, Steve-O pops it out. It hits the ground. I mean, when you run to the football, good things are going to happen. And,
right.
Eli was rewarded right there by running to the football. Great play by Steven. Ball hits the ground, pops right up into his hands, and he's able to take it in for a touchdown.
Yeah, unchallenged. Eli Wilcox didn't get to play last season. Talk about where he is on the year.
Yeah, he's been incredible. Obviously couldn't play last fall for us, so getting him back into shape and has been incredible for us there at that Leo position. put on a lot of weight, a lot of strength this offseason. Great for us in the run game. I think he's continuing to get better each week with his pass rush stuff. I think he has 3 or 4 sacks on the season for us, then was able to get his first ever career touchdown.
And then Stephen Ward, 14 tackles, is a season high by any player for you this year. We've talked about the depth on defense. You've had a bunch of games where you'll have 10 guys between 2 and 7 tackles. But, man, how about Stephen going for 14 on Saturday?
Yeah, I think with what they did offensively, it was going to be advantageous. I don't even know the stats. I would assume probably Blake and Stephen were our 2 leading tacklers.
Yeah, they had Reggie King with 10, actually.
With as much as they threw out of that empty set to kind of their inside receivers,
right.
Number 2 weak, number 3 strong. The Mike and Will backers were going to be set up to have to make a lot of tackles for us Saturday, and they did. I would assume Blake was probably up there with a decent amount as well.
Yeah, 14 for Steven, 10 for Reggie, and they had Blake with 9. Yeah. And so, those guys all over the field a little bit. But Eli Wilcox gets a scoop and score. So now the Gorillas put it on cruise control, right? You're running away with this thing, but lo and behold, here come the Mules, and they're going to make a game of this thing. It can happen in a hurry. Coaches talk about that all the time. So I know Cleo's just sick about that fumble because they had a touchdown on each side of it. So they pull within 2 scores with 5.5 minutes to go. As a coach, there's a lot of time left, right?
Oh, especially against that offense. And, Cleo continues to be a phenomenal player for us. I think he had over 100 all-purpose yards. So pretty cool to get out of the day when you have 3 guys on offense all have over 100 all-purpose yards. TJ, ZPG, and Cleo. Cleo ended up having like 80 yards receiving for us. So continues to do a great job. But, you kind of get into that mode. It's like the same thing with Emporia. You're in the 4th quarter. You have a 3-score lead. It's like, all right, how aggressive do we want to be? Maybe who do we want to get out a little bit? So you kind of battle some of that as coaches of just kind of mixing and matching what you're trying to get accomplished right there. But also knowing, a team like UCM, a team like Emporia, a team like Northwest even, who can put points on the board so fast. You kind of got to find a balancing act as a coaching staff of how aggressive do we stay, keeping the ball in front of us if they're going to score, making them have to put together long drives to do it, and they were able to score a few late there on us. Yeah,
the thing that stung with Cleo's fumble, they had tried an onside kick, sort of. That guy kicked it pretty hot out of bounds there, and so you see a lot of different onside kicks. So you don't see it very often, but it's not a surprise they tried it. 4th quarter, 3-score game, as you mentioned. So talk about the work you put in and all the different scenarios you throw at your frontline guys when it's an onside kick.
Yeah, definitely. Situation. Always, every week during the week, we try to just throw 1 or 2 in there throughout the week in practice, even if a team hasn't shown it.
Right.
Hey, we'll tell the scout team, hey, you try to pop one over here, right? Just to keep those guys on their toes, right? Because you never know when that stuff's going to happen, so you always have to be prepared for it. And then obviously you got to work your hands team as well. You get in those situations. We put our hands team out there at the end as well, not knowing if they were going to try an onside kick or not. That's the one that they just kind of popped over the top to Zamari, and he got like a little 19-yard return on it. So just always as coaches, that's our job, like to just as many situations and scenarios as we can present our guys throughout the week. Even like fake punts for our punt return team, even if a team hasn't shown a fake, right? Like you still got to prepare those guys for it. You have to, so when it happens in the game, they're ready for it.
And the other part about it all to me is this is why you don't want to burn timeouts in the 3rd quarter, because people think about holding a timeout for your offense, but you might need it to talk about an onside kick scenario, right? If it's an obvious one, or hey, be prepared for the surprise. So throw a lot of things at him indeed. The field goal I talked about with Austin was actually the later one, and that put Pitt State up 48-35. And that was big because then it becomes a 2-touchdown game. And then interception, Central drives down there on an overthrow. Jasper Ogburn gets a pick. Here's a guy, I know he was hurt early, didn't play in week 1, but talk about where he is in his role.
Yeah, Jasper does a great job. He's a guy, he's kind of like our 3rd-ish safety.
Yeah.
You got Reggie and Ryan. Jasper's a floater. He can do a lot of different things, has a very wide skill set. And continues to be a really good player for us. Does a great job for us on special teams. He's a 30 to 40 snap a game guy on defense. He's a lot like J. Raj. You watch that dude. He flies around. He's actually the one that hit Amolo on his last touchdown run. I mean, he had been knocked him out of the game. He didn't come back in. I mean, even though it was a touchdown, he smacked him right at the goal line, and Donovan didn't end up coming back into the game. They brought in the other kid, but Jasper, I mean, he just plays with his hair on fire, incredibly smart, plays with passion, and a really good football player for us.
Well, it all adds up for the Gorillas, thankfully, 48-35, and a long game, and that game was exactly what you go in kind of anticipating, is that we're going to have to score some points. Defense obviously did their job despite the points and yards for Central, because, again, 2 defensive scores. You start looking at percentage of games you win if you get 1 non-offensive score, never mind 2 of them. So that was huge, and a lot of contributions for Pitt State. It sets the stage for a big one with Northwest and Kansas City Saturday. We'll take our last break, come back, talk about the matchup with the Bearcats right after this. Welcome back to our final segment of the Coach Tom Anthony Show this week. Eddie Lomshek along with Pitt State head coach Tom Anthony. The Gorillas and the Bearcats from Kansas City going to play at Children's Mercy Park, home of Sporting KC, Major League Soccer team. Pitt State and Northwest, no strangers to playing historically at a neutral site. Played at Arrowhead Stadium a number of years, and 2019 was the last one there. And both these towns are college towns, and there's a part of it that stings a little bit taking it off campus. So with that, first and foremost, talk about the discussions that went into this and agreeing to move this game to a neutral site.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty cool, setup. It's a 2-year deal, so we're the home team this year. They're the home team next year. Then hopefully it'll get back to Pittsburgh and Maryville for 2 years. I don't make those decisions. I'd love to see it kind of a 2 years on, 2 years off kind of thing. Because I think it really is cool for all the alumni, of both schools. We have so many alums that live up in that Kansas City area, for people to be able to get there and see it. And obviously it's a venue that holds more people than what our stadium does or what Northwest Stadium does. So to be able to put it somewhere where you can get an extra, 4, 5, 6,000 people at the game, I think it'll be a really cool atmosphere.
Yeah, over the years at Arrowhead in the early years, and those were such big games, 2002 through 05, 06, whatever, and you'd get 25,000. You kind of fill the lower bowl a little bit in the club level, but it's still big. Arrowhead, 75,000 seat NFL stadium. This will be configured for about 18,000. The D2 championship game was one time played here. Northwest won a couple of national titles there with Adam Dorrell, so it'll be set up for football, and do need to know a couple of things. Tickets for that game later this week, throughout the week, only available through SeatGeek. That is the primary ticketing partner for Sporting KC. Prepaid parking, no assignment on lots. Parking lots open at 9:30. The game's at 1:30. It's a cashless facility. Get your tickets on the west side. Coach mentioned we'll be the home team. That'll be the deal for Pitt State on Saturday. So we'll remind you of that throughout this week on local programming as well. Coach, as far as Northwest, they get smacked in week 1 up at Minnesota State Mankato, who's been a really good program. Northwest, a first-year coach. He's one of their own, John McMinimum. He was a very good quarterback under Mel Churchman in the early 2000s. So they've won 9 in a row. You've won 8 in a row. Talk about, just first and foremost, the momentum both teams seem to bring into this.
Yeah, well, we both got smacked in week 1. So I think both teams probably got a little bit of an awakening there at the beginning of the season. Coach has done a phenomenal job, man. When you look at their roster, you look at what they're doing in all 3 phases. They're the number 1 scoring offense in the conference, number 1 scoring defense in the conference, number 1 rush offense, number 1 rush defense. Yeah. They do an incredible job on special teams. They have one of the top returners in the league. So they're very well coached. They have a ton of talent. They present a lot of different issues, in all 3 phases. So it'll be a great challenge for us. I'm excited to get up there. Coach has done an incredible job, just kind of with where they were the last couple of years to where he's taken them in such a short time. And they play extremely hard. They do a lot of good things schematically in all 3 phases. So we'll have a test for us up there this Saturday.
Yeah, in particular, offensively, it really jumps out. Offensively, last couple of years, they'd not been as consistently productive as they were for a long time defensively. And they honored 27 seniors Saturday against Missouri Western. They lost some kids to the portal. They still have some guys there. Coach Bostwick on the defensive side, he's a longtime Northwest guy. And so the teams they had on defense with Rich Wright as their coach and D-line coach, some of those guys still there. Talk about this being, from square one, physicality.
Yeah, both these teams, us and them, they're the number 1 rush offense in the conference. We're the number 2 rush offense. They're the number 1 rush defense. I think we're the number 3 rush defense. So you got 2 football teams that pride themselves, on running the football and stopping the run. And when you have 2 teams like that, number 1 word is physicality, you know, and that's what it's going to come down to is which team comes out and plays with that edge, plays with physicality, and on top of that, have to execute at a very, very high level. So that's going to kind of be the name of the game Saturday is, who can come out and execute at a high level, take care of the football is going to be a huge, huge part of that as well. And, I think another part of it is doing a great job on stop downs. We're going to have to be really good on third down. We're going to have to be really good at stopping them on third down.
Bottom line is, and it may sound like a broken record to an extent, but after 0-2, talk about positioning yourself to play in a game of this caliber for the regular season finale.
Yeah, I think how cool is it that even though we don't have conference championship games, how cool is it that it comes down to the last regular season? Obviously, they've already locked up a share of the conference championship, but how cool is it that we get to play our final regular season game and kind of a quote unquote conference championship game essentially. So cool that it played out this way. Cool for both schools, I think. Cool for both communities. Cool for both alumni bases. That the final regular season game kind of comes down to this.
It'll be festive and hopefully lives up to the hype. The Gorillas and the Bearcats. There is a Pitt State pep rally Friday night before the game at Tanner's Bar and Grill, 143rd and Old Metcalf in Overland Park, owned and operated by a Pitt State alum. So that'll be festive as well. Get out there and enjoy that, and then kick off Saturday at 1:30. That means our coverage will begin with Gorilla Game Day at 11:30 a.m. on our flagship 100.7 and through the KSHQ app, followed by network pregame coverage at 12:30. That'll do it for us in this installment of the Coach Tom Anthony Show. For Coach and our player guest Austin O'Hara, I'm Eddie Lomshek. Thanks for being with us, and go Gorillas.